Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2008 big budget found footage film Cloverfield. The film is directed by Matt Reeves and it stars Mike Vogel, Jessica Lucas, Lizzie Kaplan, TJ Miller, Michael Stahl-David and Odette Annabelle. Right, okay, Cloverfield. This was the start of the Cloverfield franchise, I suppose you could call it. And it focuses on a group of friends. They're throwing a going away party for their friend. I think he's going to Japan, I think it is, for some employment opportunity. Everybody's throwing him a party. They're doing the thing with a video camera where they go around and everybody talks about this guy and how wonderful he is, all that kind of stuff. And then in the midst of this party, there is an attack on New York City. Initially, nobody knows what's happening. There is absolute chaos. There's explosions, there's buildings collapsing, there's the head of the Statue of Liberty being thrown about. And then it becomes clear that there's some kind of huge creature roaming the streets of New York that the armed forces are trying to cope with, and this group of friends are trying to make their way through New York City to safety, but also one of them is trying to get to the love of his life, Beth, who he feels he's let down and he wants to get to her on this night. Right, what are my thoughts on Cloverfield? Well, if you follow my content at all, you know I'm a big fan of found footage. So it was inevitable at some point I had to get round to reviewing Cloverfield. This is about as far away from a low-budget example of a found footage film as you're ever going to get. In fact, this is probably the best example of, the biggest budget found footage film you're ever going to see. It's very glossy, it's very shiny, there's a lot of budget thrown at it, some great production values, and a really cool idea. And some savvy marketing to go with it as well. I remember when this film was due to come out, I remember being really quite excited to see it. I remember me and my brother both getting really excited at the marketing for this. What is it? What kind of movie is it going to be? Nobody knew really what kind of movie this was going to be. When it came out, was it a Godzilla film? What kind of film was it? Well, nobody had a clue really. So it was very, very clever marketing. And then the film came out and it was... I don't know if sensation is the right word, but it was very, very popular indeed and very successful. And obviously, as I said, started the Cloverfield franchise with a bang, I suppose. Now, many people regard the second Cloverfield film as the best film in the franchise, and that's hard for me to argue, really. And I think what they have managed to do with all three films in the franchise is give us very different movies each time, which is smart. First one's obviously found footage. Second one is much more of a very tight thriller, and very heavy on paranoia and all this kind of stuff. And then the third one is like a mystery in space to a large degree. So they really tried to give us something different each time. But fans of found footage obviously lapped this one up because found footage fans, if you like, not just before this film came out, but since, for the most part, have had to put up with low-budget affairs. Now, I have watched and reviewed many, many found footage films on this channel. Many of them low-budget as well, and many of them are very, very good indeed. There are lots of fine examples of brilliant found footage films out there that were done on a shoestring budget. This one obviously is not a shoestring budget, but it still manages to really have a massive impact, and it does feel very authentic for the most part, and it's got some real thrills and spills in the film sort of thing. For me, the most effective scenes in this film were the on the street and the level stuff, where them little creatures are kind of charging around chasing everybody. I found that was pretty effective. But I thought the effects as well were really good. I mean, the first time I watched it, I kind of came away from this film being a little bit disappointed that we didn't see more of the creature. But because it was done from the perspective of this group of friends and not like a military perspective, then it's almost like the War of the Worlds movie, with Tom Cruise. It's done from his perspective, a smaller perspective. And it's done from this small group of friends' perspective with T.J. Miller filming the whole thing. It feels more personal in that sense, and it does work. Now, the odd thing I found to rewatch this for the review, I found it a little bit odd, was the fact that certainly there's two faces that stand out here of actors that have become considerably better known since this film came out, and the obvious example is T.J. Miller. Now, the first time I watched this, it probably wouldn't have impacted me at all, the wisecracks behind the camera and stuff like that. But watching it now, knowing T.J. Miller and his style of performing, his sarcasm and this kind of stuff, it feels a bit jarring watching this film now. It doesn't feel as authentic because it's T.J. Miller, that's it kind of takes a little bit of immersion away from the film, if you like. I do feel as well there are a couple of moments where some of the actors, don't know what the right word is, overact, maybe. Doesn't feel, again, as genuine a performance. Like most found footage films that you watch, it's very small scale, so they're kind of reacting in the moment sort of thing. And sometimes they are very genuinely scared. Well, clearly in this film, there is no monster roaming the streets of New York. There is no little beastie running around their feet, so they have to react to nothing. So what I mean by that is some of the situations they have to react to didn't necessarily feel as genuine as you would see in smaller scale found footage films. But still, massively, massively entertaining, this film. I must admit, I thoroughly enjoyed rewatching it, and it's probably a good 8 years, maybe longer, since I last saw this film. It's odd, really, like I say, because I'm such a fan of found footage film. I might be wrong, I don't think I have this one in my collection. And it's almost like, if you admit that you like this, being a found footage fan, it's almost like you're selling out to some degree. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but it's always kind of felt that way to me. A couple of things that I really like about this film that I've kind of researched is, people, who kind of made the film came out and said that if you look at this film from the perspective of the creature, this monster, it's not a monster at all. It's, in actual fact, it's a baby that is completely spooked out about where it is, and it's desperately searching for its mother, which puts a whole new perspective on the film when you think of it that way. And I think that came directly from the guy that created the creature for the film. That was his take on the monster, and I just thought that was quite fascinating. And the lovely snippet at the end of this film as well is, it kind of shows a little bit of the camera footage at the end that was filmed before they started filming all this disaster of two characters just enjoying themselves at a fair, filmed literally, I think the day before this happened, or certainly many hours before, 12 hours before, something like that. And you can see him at the fair having a good time looking out to the sea, and you can see this thing dropping in the sea, which obviously is a huge hint as to what is happening and what this creature is, sort of thing. So for me, it's a very, very entertaining found footage film. It's definitely one to recommend if you haven't seen it. I'm sure many of you have certainly heard of Cloverfield, and many of you watching this will of course seen it. But if you're a fan of found footage and you've never seen Cloverfield, it's absolutely worth adding to your watch list. It will be hugely entertaining for you, and it'll be something different as well, because most of us that watch found footage are used to watching low budget things. Well, this definitely isn't that. It's highly polished. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out this review for Cloverfield. I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.